oil marketers have criticized Nigerian government's plan to impose a 15% import duty on petrol, arguing it contradicts the principle of deregulation in the petroleum sector. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria warned the duty could trigger scarcity and encourage profiteering, noting that genuine deregulation requires prices to be determined by market forces without government-imposed duties. However, energy economist Professor Wumi Ilidare supported the government's stance, describing the tariff as a transformative step toward fiscal resilience and energy security. He emphasized that well-designed tariffs promote domestic capacity and stabilize markets, though success depends on governance integrity. The Major Energy Marketers Association of Nigeria estimates the duty could push petrol prices in Lagos to around 964 naira 72 kobo per litre. While advocates believe the tariff will promote local refining, analysts warn it could further weaken demand in Nigeria's price-sensitive market, where fuel consumption has already dropped significantly since subsidy removal. Well, economist Gbolahan Olojede joins us now for a chat on the 15% import duty on petroleum products and analyzes whether Nigerians are overtaxed or not. Good afternoon, friend.
Good afternoon. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us again on Newsday on this very important matter. Now, the government just removed fuel subsidy not too long ago. We still feel the effects.
Correct.
Now they're adding 15% import duty on petroleum products. How is this not just transferring subsidy costs directly to consumers?
Well, of course, they gave a reason, but the reason needs to be interrogated properly. The reason, when you look at it on the face of it, is genuine. So there you're saying, look, I need to protect this industry here because I want the industry to generate employment for my people. I don't want it generating employment in other economies, which is what we do when we go and import product into Nigeria. So it's a genuine reason. But you see, one of the problems I have with that industry generally is the level of transparency. The case that is to be made, we can make it more transparently. You know, initially when we were talking about local refining, one of the things we said was, look, local refining should make things cheaper because you're not importing, you're not opening LC, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And the Dangote refinery is a brand new refinery. So the question is, why is it not able to produce competitively? Why is it producing at a level, at a cost profile that is higher than the one that are being imported? So the level of transparency that we have right now does not address that. So you don't even know what exactly is the issue. In the real sense, let's assume for discussion purpose that Dangote refinery is producing a superior fuel than the one that has been imported. It starts to make sense. Because when you think about the premium fuel in the US vis-a-vis the ordinary one, the price differential is about 10 cents, which in today's Naira could be as high as around 40 Naira difference between the premium and the regular one. So if that is the case we're making, you might say, oh, it makes sense. Then people can have a choice. I want to buy the premium for my premium engine and preservation of, or I will take the common one. But those are not information that are in the open. So it raises question, and we need to do more than, just declaring, just signing those things. We need to put information that will make the people make sense out of what we're trying to do as a people.
Absolutely. I appreciate your how you mentioned that this is a genuine, relatively genuine call, but there's a lack of transparency, which is what a lot of people are very skeptical about. Now, if we're going to be specific, how much will this 15% duty add to petrol prices that Nigerians are already struggling to afford? We've already seen what it might be that I read earlier on, but what's your estimation? Is that accurate?
Well, 15%, you can just roughly put 15% on whatever you're paying right now, because the belief is that whatever additional cost that the importer bears he would like to transfer it to the ultimate consumer. So if you increase his cost by 15%, he might as well try as much as possible to see if he can transfer the 15% to the consumer. If he cannot, he will pass on as much as possible of that additional cost that he has to bear to the consumer. Now, this same consumer is just recovering. It's just, it's just steadying his affairs from the previous hike, and we're beginning to see some element of adjustment and a bit of stability here and there. Is that consumer really ready for another push? See, one of the reasons why 2025 appears to be better in terms of inflationary pressure and some other factors, the fact that energy cost in 2024 was actually on the average more than 2025. So we had all that 1,000 plus bracket on the average around 2024. This year it has hovered around 800 and something, for almost the entire year. So if we now step that energy cost up, will it not bring back some of those conquests that we thought we have made about inflation? Will it exert further inflationary pressure on the people? If it will do, are we sure we are at that level of recovery that the consumer is ready to take on that additional cost? Otherwise, even if we're going to do this, we need to wait it out and allow for more adjustment, in fact, for rebound. Allow for some of the wins that we have seen to percolate down all the way to the bottom rung of the ladder. There are some wins that are there, but the bottom rung of the ladder is still not feeling it as much as it should. So why not wait and let things get better than what we have right now, and then you can start thinking of this. And maybe by that time, you'll feel more comfortable to give us more information about why we are doing what we are doing. And if you sell it the right way to the people, maybe
absolutely
they might be willing to buy it.
Absolutely. I was going to touch on maybe the need for more participatory aspect when it comes to enacting policies.
Correct.
Like what was lacking when we first had subsidy was gone, but we'll come to that in a moment if we still have some time. Now, when it comes to the issue of tax, the government often says, Nigerians aren't overtaxed when you compare it to other countries. And that is where sometimes I struggle, because when you compare burdens and you say, no, it's a global phenomenon, it doesn't make it any better. But when you factor in the kind of poor service delivery that we experience in Nigeria, it's the question of, what am I paying for?
It makes a lot of sense. To be honest, if it is strictly based on the tax revenues that the government gets into its coffers, government might be right to say that it is low relative to the size of the economy. That could be defended. Also, the consumer will be said to be right by saying, look, I'm already overtaxed. That is because the average consumer cannot even separate taxation from extortion. There are some of those things that, as far as he is concerned, it is taxation, but government is not even getting a brass farthing from those money that the guy is paying. So from government's end, I'm not getting that money. From the consumer's end, I'm paying that money. So those bits and pieces are also part of what we need to resolve with the way we administer taxation. I'm a bit upbeat about the new tax law. I hope it will deliver on some improved tax equity. Because what we have right now, it's not exactly equitable. So what you have now are people who are in the structured environment in the middle class, carrying the chunk of the personal income tax. The people, the top earners, are the biggest escapers of taxation. Yep. And it shouldn't be so. It should be that the more this economy has bestowed upon you should drive how much you should also be able to give back. So the people who earn the most should carry their fair burden of taxation in this country. And it will really be a challenge to see how the new tax law will be able to deal with that, because it requires a lot of political will to go to those big people. Some of them are even the people that make the laws, to ask them to pay the right level, to carry the fear burden of taxation in this country. But if we're able to do that, we can begin to see more tax equity. And I also hope that we will measure when you deploy a new policy like that. You want to be sure that it is delivering, it is on the right track, and it is delivering on the goals for which you have set it. And if it is not, to be able to realign it properly along the goal that you seek to achieve. So measurement of how it is performing when we deploy it will also be very important.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to this import duty, there are some concerns. So let's just take a look at what happens in countries like Benin Republic, where they have, for instance, lower duties. There are concerns that this might just increase smuggling as opposed to generating revenue. Do you share that concern?
That will always be part of it. Every time you increase, the official thing, people like to look for corners to make those things happen. But if for whatever reason, because our port, for example, have been designated as highly inefficient, you get some things in there before you can get them cleared and all the processes and stuff, you might even enter demurrage for some of those issues.
Yeah.
If it would deliver on effective port administration, if people are sure that when my goods come there, I can easily get it cleared and all that, there might be a bit of a balancing. And people might not really mind as much as they would if I have to pay more and I'm still not getting the service. On the issue of smuggling, there will always be smuggling anyway. But making it less attractive, it's also important. There are all sorts of information about how porous our borders could be, especially in the northern part of the country. There are, when they mention some number of thousands of unmanned borders, part of our borders in the north, it will embarrass you, And those are some of the inlets for people bringing illegal stuff into this country. I don't know how much we've been able to address that issue. I learned that the current minister is doing a great job, with passport and the rest of it. I don't know if that is also part of the remit where he's able to deliver value. It will even help us with insecurity if we do that properly.
Oh, this was insightful, concerning, and it was everything that we needed to hear. I hope that we are able to move towards the path of sustainability and be happy again on here as Nigerians. For now, we'd like to thank you for your very robust analysis, as always. Economist Gbolahan Olojede, thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate it.